So in the previous class, we have just studied about the data structures. Then we have discussed about the class, and this is a class that how we make a, and we will start a class name with the capital letters.
Yeah.
Okay. Then there is a function, and if I want to call this function, then there's a class name dot show. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is how it's you can say it's a object of the class. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
if I want to call the function directly, it shows error that it is outside this particular scope, the function of variable that I have made, they are not visible to the interpreter. So to
Yeah.
use them to access them, I have to create the object like this, then I can use them. Okay. Now
Okay.
what I will do, I will make a one more class, say class student. Okay. Now again a function, say def student name. Okay, and say self underscore name.
Okay. What does self mean?
I have told you already that self, it's like current object. Like when in Java, when I say this,
Yeah.
you know this, it's same
Yeah.
as you can say here that self keyword is used as can say it will take automatically. It's a
Okay.
convention used as the first parameter of the instance method within a class to refer to the specific instance.
So we are passing any object, then we have to uh, do self.
And passing any object means
Like in this
mm,
one, we are passing name, but the
self
previous,
here. Yeah, it's a parameter. It's a
and we have to
parameter.
pass it every time.
Yeah,
Self.
self. Yeah, self is how you have to pass it. When it says, uh, when you will see that why we use this because it's a like a first parameter of an instance method. If I want to make an object of this class, then there is self keyword. Self means it is showing the current object.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, so you can say Python's philosophy. Like,
Got it. Okay.
yeah, you can say that explicit is better than implicit.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like just like that. You,
Okay. Got
mm,
it.
if you cannot say that it's a fundamental concept when working with the object-oriented programming. It
Got it.
represents
But we
the
have to pass it every time. Whenever we have a function, we have to pass
eh,
self.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. It represents the instance of the class being used. Whenever
Okay.
we
Got
create
it.
an object from a class, self refers to the current object.
Okay.
Okay, it is essential for assessing attributes and methods within the class. You will see when we do some examples. Okay,
Okay.
don't worry about that. You will see that. Okay, now okay here self dot name equal to name. Okay, now this name is this name. When
Yeah.
I say this dot, like this dot, say color equal to color in your
Java.
Java, it's the
Yeah.
same thing like that.
Okay.
Okay, print name. Okay, okay, name. Okay, I will not. Okay, now I say one more function. Say def student marks. Marks. Okay, say self dot marks equal to mark and say print marks. Okay, now if I call this here, say student dot student name, and I will pass say Rohit and say student dot student marks equal to say 60. Okay, now if I run this code, now Rohit 60. Okay, now
Yeah.
now suppose if I go with the new object, say, and I will say it as Amit and say 90. Okay,
Yeah.
now again it will print the same thing,
Yeah.
but it is a wrong
Sorry,
concept.
Abhijit.
Mm-hmm.
Are you recording this?
Yes.
Okay, okay. I thought maybe. Okay.
No, no, I'm not
Thank you.
recording. Okay. You will get the link and you will
Okay.
get the login as well in the
Okay.
website.
Sure. Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, okay. So you have made the payment, na?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So it's in US dollar or it's in rupees?
I did in US dollars.
What amount it is?
300.
Okay, 300 US dollar.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back. Okay, now if I print this, you will see that it will printing, but it is a wrong concept. As whenever I do this type of coding in the memory location, object is created, but I don't know where that object is. You getting my
Yeah.
point?
Yeah.
Now this is one object, this is another object, but how can you define that this is object one or this is object two?
Yeah.
Okay, because if you see over here, yeah, I have made object one and passed the name Rohit and say and marks then object two. So how can you say in by just way of looking that this is object one and this is object two? And where that object in the memory location, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
So for this, we use object reference.
Okay.
Okay. Then I will say, just and this one, I say S1 equal to student. Okay. Now S1 dot student name, Rohit. You can ask in the interview that why we use the why there is a need of using object reference.
Yeah.
So you can say that to locate that where my object is in the memory location, we will use object reference.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so this is how we will use the object reference.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have already told you about the object reference thing. Now, if I say S1 here, S1 is pointing towards the this object. Okay, it says Rohit and marks is 60. When I
Yeah.
say S2, so I'm talking about this object where name is Amit and the marks is 90. Okay, now you know that this is S1, as this is S1 and this is S2. Without the
Yeah.
object reference, you are not able to differentiate between the two objects, that which object is which.
Yes.
Okay, now if I say S2 equal to student, and I will just repeat this, say S2 Amit and say this is 60. Okay, now if I say uh, S1 equal to S2, now what will be the value of S1?
S1 equals to S2. Now S1 is pointing to S2.
Yes,
So
now S1 will start pointing towards the S2. and this memory location will got deleted.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why that integer thing is very important, which we have done,
Yeah.
that int a equal
Yeah.
to int b, a
Yeah.
equal to b, b equal to c, and c equal to d. So,
Yeah.
understanding that concept, you will automatically get this concept.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what I will do, I will make one more function here, say def show, and say print self dot name plus self dot marks. Okay, I will just first do this. Okay, and here I say s1 dot show and say s2 dot show. Okay, now if I run this, it says what here I'm going mistake, self dot name.
We haven't specified. Oh, S. Okay. S1 dot show.
Okay, cannot import name str from AST. What we have not import anything. Okay, now if I run this again, now
Hmm.
Rohit 60, and now you see that why this self keyword is important. Now here self, now I can use this over here as well. I can use this self name variable in my whole class.
Yeah.
Even it is just declared inside this.
Yeah.
You see that when I click on this, this will come here. Even I have declared inside the function, I can use it
Yeah.
here as well. Now you see the importance of self keyword.
Yeah.
Okay. Without this self keyword, I cannot use this function. I use this variable outside this function,
Yes.
because you can see that it's inside I have declared inside the function, but still I can use it over here because of the self keyword.
Yes.
Okay. And if I say s1 equal to s2, then s1 dot show and say s2 dot show, s2 dot show. Okay, now if I run this, now you'll see Amit
Yeah.
1990, because now it
Yes.
will start pointing towards the
Pointing to S2.
second object.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Yeah.
anything till now, and
No.
now
I
you know
think everything is
the,
good.
yeah, now you know the importance of self keyword inside the
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
Okay, by using the self keyword, I can use that variable in any function of the class. Here
Yes.
I have not declared anything, but still I can, because it's a current object. Self means
Yeah.
current object.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move towards the next topic, that is your constructor. Okay, you know anything about the constructor?
Constructor in Java, I know. It's basically the first thing. So once you create the object, the
Mm-hmm.
constructor is called uh,
Mm-hmm.
first, and then
Why we
it's
need constructor?
basically initialization becomes much more easier. You don't have to do it again and again. You just can call the constructor and initialize the objects. I initialize the variables.
Okay, Yeah, you are right that when we say like suppose three characters are there for the car, like color, price, and you can say anything like capacity. So tires you can say. So we have to declare again and again. So for that we take a constructor.
Yeah.
Okay, let me do in the same class. Okay, which class? Okay, second. Let's close that. Okay, I have not made a Python file and emitters constructors study. Okay, now we have a class name as student. Okay, now mm, say student. Okay, so I have a just a minute, okay, every function. So I have to pass. Okay, suppose in this class I have a number of parameters that I need to pass. Like I want to for the student, I can pass name, and say name, then I say roll number. Okay, then say
Mhm.
class, then what is the subject. Okay, so now I have to pass one by one in every function. I have to repeat this in every function. To avoid that, what
Mhm.
we can do, we can pass all these parameters into the constructor. Okay,
Okay.
now how to make a constructor?
Yeah.
Def now underscore underscore. Now you can see in it.
Yeah.
This is this is known as default constructor.
Okay.
Okay. Now there are two types of constructor: default and parameterized. Okay. First
Yeah.
we will say default. Then we will see the parameterized as well. Okay. Now I say def student name. I can say self then name. And I say self dot name equal to name. I will say print again the name. Okay. Okay. And I will just type some print statement. Print the demo of default constructor. Okay. Then just give me error. Okay. Why am I doing something wrong?
No, I think you're good.
Okay. Now error goes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what is going to happen? Firstly, the interpreter takes a look at that when the constructor is available in the class or not. Now it is available
Yeah,
when I because constructor are not compulsory to be written. It's optional. If you want, you can have it. Otherwise, you can skip them. Okay, so
yeah,
first interpreter will check that this if it is existing or not. Then interpreter will check that whether there are some parameters that have to be passed or not. Now this is default constructor. No
yeah.
parameters are being passed. Okay. Now say so say student. Okay. Now I just run this demo of default constructor because I
Yeah,
just made a object, then this constructor is being called.
yeah.
Okay, I have not passed any parameter to the constructor. Okay, but still it is printing demo of default constructor. This means that whenever we are going to create an object, constructor is going to be called by default.
Yes.
Okay, now what will I do? I will pass subject. Okay, say self dot subject equal to subject. Hmm,
And some spacing issue is there
yeah,
because
so sending another. So just I will delete this one first and say an indent does not match. Why it is giving me anything?
do we have can we refactor or something?
Mm, why it is giving me error? I don't know. Just say print subject. If I just
Maybe just the first step and the last step, they are not in the same line. Maybe that.
yeah, now it is
Yeah,
okay. Missing one requirement positioner subject. Okay. Now if I pass the subject in my constructor, then
yeah.
I have
It
to.
needs a subject. Yeah. You have to pass it in
Okay.
student.
Now I can say S1 equal to student and I will say then say science. Okay.
Yeah.
And what will I do? I will just where is that? Okay. Student name is student marks and say self dot name. Okay. Now again I can say that s1 dot student name, say Rohit, and say s1 dot student marks equal to 60. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I can say, now here name marks. I can go with the third one as well. Uh, self dot subject. Just copy this here. Self dot
Mm.
subject.
Yeah. And you need a
Okay,
plus.
plus.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I will say s1 dot
Sure.
show. Okay. And if I run this now, Rohit 60 science. I just pass in my, you can say, constructor. Okay. Now I know that you know all these things, but just for a reminder thing that how these things are being used in Python.
Yeah. No, no, it's good.
Okay. So this is a concept of a constructor. And one thing more, that you cannot have more than one constructor in a particular class. Now coming to the usage of objects in Selenium. So Selenium is basically going to follow the same concept of
Yeah.
object-oriented programming. It is totally based upon on the classes, and to use the classes, you have seen how you can use it. If you want make the object, you are not able to express the classes, the function and variable inside it. So the same concept is going to be applicable. Now
Yeah.
I'm telling right now how to it's going to look like or something like that. But just for sake of information, that Selenium is going to follow the concept of object-oriented programming, or you can say OOPS.
Yeah.
Okay, it will follow the OOPS, and if you know the OOPS, you can do it anything. Okay, now let's
So
move to.
you
Mhm.
said that we can only have one constructor. So since we
Yeah,
have a default constructor here, we
it's
cannot
not a, it's
make
a
a,
parameterized.
it's a parameterized now. But we have init in front of it. So doesn't init say that it's a default constructor?
No, 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 no. When
Okay.
it is like this, then it's a default constructor
Got
where
it.
you are
Okay.
not going to pass any parameters. It's the same thing. Like when we can have, you can say you cannot have two default constructor at the same time.
Got it. Okay. But we can
Okay.
have a default constructor here
Yeah,
and a
but
parameterized
yeah,
constructor.
you suppose if I go with here, like the same thing here, like just try it. If you have any query, just try it like here. And I say just a print and say default constructor.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, suppose there is nothing like this, and I will just make a simple student. Okay. Now, if I run this, now you see.
Yeah.
So here it is going to call it the here default construct your parameterized constructor. Even I have made this constructor, but in Java, what is happening that if there is your default constructor, it will go there, and if it is there your parameterized, then it will go there. But
Yeah.
uh, in Python, there is nothing like you cannot have this two, you can say two constructors in same class. So you have to delete this.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So because when you see, when I call this, I have not passed any parameters, so it will give me an
Yeah.
error.
Okay.
It will not go going for the default constructor. But in
Yeah.
Java, you can have the both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got
So
it.
this is, yeah,
Yes.
this is a difference between Java and Python.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's move to another topic, that is inheritance. Okay,
Yeah.
so first we understand that what is inheritance. Okay, so suppose, so in this is these are grandparents, these are
Yeah.
parents, and these are child. Okay, so this is inheritance, like it is flowing from up to down, like parents are going to inherit all the properties of grandparents. Okay, and the
Yes.
child will get all the properties of parents. Since parent is carrying all the properties of grandparents, so all the properties can be inherited by child.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like a simple thing, like grandparents, parents. Like suppose grandparent is a singer. If I say just a example, say it's a singer. Okay, now parent becomes musician, like playing piano, and singer as well, because it will get the properties from its grandparents.
Yeah.
Okay, now in the child, that it's a now it's a piano, playing piano. It will sing as well, and you can say it will dance as well. It's its own property.
Yeah.
Okay, dancing is its own property.
Yeah.
Piano or singer, it's getting from its parents, but dancing is its own property.
Yeah.
Similarly, piano is its own property, singer it's getting from its parents. The class will follow from up to down. It will
Yeah.
never go from down to up. You
Yeah.
cannot access the properties of child in the parents.
Yes.
Okay, so now this is how inheritance work. Okay,
Yeah.
so but so we will talk about the, can say talk about the types of inheritance. Now, first is single level. Okay, types of inheritance, you can say first is single level, then there is the multi-level. Okay, then there is multiple inheritance as well. We will see as there's a multiple inheritance. Okay, so let's start single inheritance. When I say single inheritance, this is a simple topic like superclass. Okay, then there is child class. It's a single level, so there is only two classes like superclass and child class, and child class will inherit all the properties of superclass.
Yeah.
This is a single level. Okay, so let's make a new file. Say, yeah, single level inheritance. Okay, now say I will make a class employee. Okay, say def emp underscore name self, and say emp name. Is employee name. Say self dot emp name equal to emp name. Okay, okay. Now I will make a one more class. Say class employee ID and say def m underscore ID self and say employee ID and say self dot employee ID equal to employee ID. So these are the two classes. These are two different classes. If you want to
Yeah.
use the classes, you have to create the object of both classes.
Yes.
You want to use this two function, so you have to make two objects. You can say two objects of these classes. First of this one,
Yeah.
then of this one. Okay, but
Yeah.
I if I say I will want to make the object of the single class, and I want that this class also get the properties of this class. So I have to pass this as employee. Okay.
Okay.
Now, when I make the object of this class, like employee ID, say A equal to uh, employee ID. Now, if I say A dot, now you can see employee ID and employee name as well. I can use this
Yeah.
both function because this class is inheriting the properties of this class. As this is child class, this is parent class. Okay.
Yeah.
From single, you can say object reference, I can use the functions of both these classes. Okay.
Yes.
This is how we can inherit upper class. The employee name function, if you say a dot amp, uh, say amp underscore name, and I will pass it as say Raghav and say a dot amp underscore ID and say its ID is 12. Okay, now I can use the reference and use any of these functions because this
Yeah.
reference is pointing towards this class and it this class has got the all properties. Now what I
Yes.
can do, say def show, uh, I say print. Now there is one more way of doing, like I will show it to you first. Single quotes, then curly brackets, now dot format, it's self dot amp name and say self dot employee ID. Okay, now if I call this function here, say a dot show. Okay, now if I run this, now see Raghav 12. It's just like a format thing. If I'm passing two
Yeah.
parameters, then it shows two. If I have three parameters, then I will go with the three brackets, three curly brackets. Okay, right now Raghav 12. Now if you see over here, that self dot amp name is coming from here.
Yes.
See, when I click on this,
Yeah.
just control plus left click, it will go here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see that if I'm inheriting the properties, then I can use the self keyword on that class as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm, okay, so instead of printing, I have just giving the values like this, like self don't app name, self don't employee ID. If there is one more parameter, then I will go with the another. Okay.
Yeah.
Now there is thing like here, what it is doing, this thing like super class, child class. Now what I want that both of these properties I can get here in one more class. Okay, so now this will be the parent class and this will be the child class.
Yeah.
Okay, so like say I will make a new class, say Python file multi level. I know that this is the boring thing, but it is important to move
Yeah, yeah,
for
no,
further
it's
move forward.
important. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what I will do, class employee, just I will copy this class employee amp underscore name amp underscore ID and self. Okay, now I will just paste it over here. Okay, and now what will I do? I will just for time being I'm wanting this, and what will I do? I will make a new say employee date of birth, and I will pass employee ID here.
Yeah.
Say def amp underscore date of birth, self date of birth, and say self dot dop equal to dop. Okay, and I just uncomment this one, and I will say self dot dop. Okay, now if I make a object of let's say a equal to employee date of birth and say now a dot. Now you can see I can use the amp underscore dob as well.
Yeah.
Okay, now say amp name say Manu a dot amp id say anything like 007 a dot amp date of birth say 2001 then say 1988. I say a dot show. And minus here. This is now multi-level inheritance. Now we will talk about multiple inheritance. This will be the last topic, and then I will stop because I know that it will be going to confuse.
Yeah.
Okay, so then say multiple. Now we have done multi-level,
Yeah.
okay, in single inheritance, then
Yeah.
multi-level, multi-level. Now we will going for multiple. So what is multiple?
Okay.
There is there is going to be two parent class, okay, and one child class. This child will inherit all the properties from parent A, then parent B. Here, a parent A and parent B, and this is the child class. But there is no difference between the two parents. So, though no relationship between the two parents.
Yeah.
Okay, but they are going to give properties to their child class. This
Okay.
is known as multiple. Just remember the name. This is multi-level. This is single level inheritance, or you can say this is multi-level. This is multi-level. Okay,
Yeah.
and This is multiple.
Yeah.
Most of the students get confused in multiple and multi-level.
Yes.
Multi-level,
Yeah.
like from you can say top to bottom, and there is a relationship between the three classes. But
Yeah.
there is no relation between the parents
Okay.
when we go about multiple inheritance. This is known
Yes.
as multiple inheritance.
Yeah.
Okay, so uh, let's take an example. First of all, I will say new Python file, say multiple inheritance. Okay, and again I will say multi-level class employee ID. Say I will have two classes like this and say like this. Now there is nothing like here. Okay. Now say I have one more class, say class employee. I'll just copy name underscore name. Okay. Now I will pass two classes here. Say employee ID and employee date of birth. Okay. Now this is how to inherit super classes.
Two. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. So say now the same concept is going here that A equal to
New
say
employee. Sorry. Employee.
employee. Okay. Say now A dot. Now I can access any function, whether it's a date of birth, whether it is you can say employee underscore ID, and
Yeah.
here I can just make a simple function say def. So I will just copy this here. Okay. And again the same thing say A dot uh, not here. A dot M underscore name say Ragni say A dot M underscore ID say anything profile and A dot M underscore date of birth. Again I can say 24 say 02 say 1990. Okay. And then I say just A dot show.
Oh.
Okay. If I run this now. Okay. So this class, the child class will inherit the properties of all the parent class which it
Yeah.
will access. So this is you can say multiple inheritance.
Yeah.
So this is a concept of inheritance and the types which are supported by Python.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are going to use this in Selenium. At that
Okay.
time, we might have need to get some inbuilt packages and libraries to be imported in our
Yeah.
function. We need you to use it. At that time, the inheritance concept will be in use.
Okay.